Welcome to TimeStream, where we journey through the turning points of history. Today, we travel back to one of the most pivotal events in British history, the Norman Conquest of 1066. In a single year, the destiny of a kingdom changed forever. When Duke William of Normandy crossed the English Channel and defeated King Harold at the Battle of Hastings, he did more than claim the English throne. He began a transformation that reshaped the language, law, architecture, and culture of Britain for generations. But what led to this momentous invasion? What happened on the battlefield? And how did the Norman rulers assert their power over a divided and war-weary land? In this episode, we'll explore the causes, key players, and lasting impact of the conquest. From the Bayeux Tapestry to towering stone castles, from Anglo-Saxon resistance to Norman administration, we'll uncover how 1066 marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Join us as we step into a world of ambition, betrayal, and conquest. This is TimeStream, and our journey into the Norman conquest of Britain begins now.
You ended up with things that were like clouds. Kind of thing you can talk whilst doing that.
Okay.
Alright, so you got a link caught there. Yeah, there's going to be a few. There we go. Right, there's the head. Give me your shoulders. Sleeves through. Right.
James, spare your hands.
Ah, thank you. Right thing there. Got it. Full thing. There we go. Cool.
And when you tell about this costume, I can show how he dressed.
Head up, arms. There's one. Nope, off the head. There you go. Head hold. Any going? No, you look good. Well, hey, lovely. And that is him in. Right, do you need sleeve things? I do. I need my sleeves pulled.
The Norman military equipment of the 11th century, particularly around the time of the Norman conquest of England in 1066, reflected a well-organized and disciplined feudal army. It combined mobility, protection, and battlefield efficiency, and played a crucial role in the Normans' success at the Battle of Hastings. The typical Norman soldier, especially the cavalryman, wore a chainmail hauberk, a knee-length tunic made from thousands of interlinked iron rings. This provided solid protection against slashing weapons and offered flexibility for movement. Under the mail, a padded garment called a gambesine helped absorb shock and prevent injuries. The most recognizable piece of Norman headgear was the conical helmet with a nasal guard, often made of iron and sometimes featuring a mail curtain at the back to protect the neck. These helmets were practical, relatively light, and gave decent facial protection without restricting vision. Norman warriors also carried shields, typically large and kite-shaped. These shields were made of wood and covered with leather, sometimes reinforced with metal. Their elongated shape protected the rider's left side, including the leg, while on horseback. Weapons varied based on rank and role. The sword was the primary weapon for nobles and knights, double-edged, straight, and ideal for slashing. Many Norman swords had a simple crossguard and a round or disc-shaped pommel. Infantry soldiers often used spears, axes, and short swords. Archers formed a key part of the Norman army and used short wooden bows with great accuracy. The use of cavalry was a major Norman strength. Mounted knights in chainmail were a relatively new and highly effective force in European warfare. Altogether, Norman military equipment reflected a blend of craftsmanship, practicality, and innovation that gave them an edge over many opponents of the time.
I'm Edmund, and this is
Bailey.
Bailey, and we're talking to you today about Norman arms and armour. Mostly armour. As you can see, we have a full hauberk here with us, which means it covers all the way from the fingers all the way down to the lower thigh, and then you would then put armour over your legs as well, but this is effectively as much protection as you get. You have a coif to cover your head, and then it goes all the way, so it goes from the top of your head, tips of your fingers, all the way down to your mid-thighs. Now, of course, there's one bit of good information here, is that this is effectively a hope and a prayer. A man who doesn't have a helmet on is a man who would not be considered to be armed in period. And there's a very, very good reason for that. Because if he's only got this on, that's going to be the end of him. So a knight could be walking around wearing all of this, sword at his belt, all the rest. If he's not wearing a helmet, that's he wouldn't be considered to be dressed for battle, because anyone with a sword could then go woodumph. So this man is wearing his helmet and is doing that. He's much more lightly armed. He's wearing a mail corselet. He's got his gambeson underneath, which is the padded armour. It's not nowhere near as good as a good sort of mail, and we call it mail, not chain mail, because to the French that would be called chain. We call this mail. It's much lighter, it's much cheaper. It's also butted, so it's not got the rivet here, like this armour does here, to hold it together. And that means that it won't. This armour here will hold some much heavier blows than the one there, but it will also be heavier as well and more difficult to make. And that's a brief overview of Norman armour.
The Norman Conquest of England in 1066 stands as one of the most transformative events in English history. It reshaped the political, cultural, linguistic, and social landscape of the country and established a new ruling elite with roots in continental Europe. The story begins with the death of King Edward the Confessor in January 1066. Edward died without a direct heir, which triggered a succession crisis. The English nobility selected Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex, as king. However, two powerful rivals disputed his claim: William, Duke of Normandy, and Harold Hardrada, King of Norway. William claimed that Edward had promised him the throne years earlier and that Harold had sworn an oath of loyalty to support his claim. When Harold accepted the crown, William viewed it as betrayal and began preparing for invasion. Meanwhile, Harold Hardrada invaded England from the north. Harold Godwinson marched quickly and defeated the Norwegian king at the Battle of Stamford Bridge on the 25th of September 1066. Just days later, William landed his forces on the southern coast of England near Hastings. On the 14th of October 1066, Harold and William's armies met at the Battle of Hastings, one of the most famous battles in medieval history. The Normans, using a mix of cavalry, archers, and infantry, eventually overwhelmed the English forces. King Harold was killed. Legend has it he was struck in the eye by an arrow, and his army was routed. William then marched to London, facing little resistance. He was crowned King of England on Christmas Day, 1066, at Westminster Abbey, becoming William I, later known as William the Conqueror. The consequences of the conquest were immense. The existing Anglo-Saxon elite was systematically replaced with Norman lords. Lands were confiscated and redistributed to William's followers, establishing a feudal hierarchy that placed Normans at the top of society. The Domesday Book, compiled in 1086, documented this massive transfer of land and wealth. Norman rule also brought architectural changes. Castles such as the Tower of London were built to project power and control the population. Romanesque, Norman, churches and cathedrals began to appear across England. Culturally and linguistically, the conquest left a lasting legacy. The Normans spoke a dialect of Old French, which merged with Old English over time to form Middle English. Many legal, political, and aristocratic terms in modern English, such as court, judge, noble, and government, have Norman French origins. The conquest also tied England more closely to continental Europe, particularly to France, as many Norman lords held lands on both sides of the Channel. This connection eventually contributed to centuries of Anglo-French rivalry. In short, the Norman conquest was not just a military takeover, it was a complete transformation of English society. It altered governance, language, land ownership, architecture, and cultural identity in ways that continue to shape England to this day.
Take anyone off road! Kill anyone for nothing! He's still alive! The roof! You breathe yet? That doesn't look very nice, does it, cousin? Well, you did that! If you'd have suddenly died, you're injured! That's what the history shall record! No! Come here. Next to me for running! Breathe yet! Doesn't look very nice, does it, cousin? Well, you did that! If you'd have suddenly died, you're injured! That's what the history shall record! No! Come here. Next to me for running!
As we conclude our journey through the Norman Conquest, we reflect on a moment that forever changed the course of British history. The events of 1066 brought new rulers, a new language, and a new social order, but they also sparked centuries of transformation, blending Norman and Anglo-Saxon worlds into something entirely new. The castles, the laws, and even the words we speak today carry echoes of that pivotal year. Thank you for joining us in exploring this defining chapter of the past. Until next time, keep discovering the moments that shaped our world. This is TimeStream. See you next time.